Welcome back, fight fans. This is the DAZN Boxing Show. I go by the name of Ak.
And I'm Barack the Boxing Bully.
So much to talk about, Barack. Two mega close fights. We're going to get into it. You know, Katie Taylor, Chantelle Cameron, Devin Haney, Lomachenko, all on the opening bell. Barack, the homecoming of Katie Taylor delivered in terms of atmosphere and energy in Dublin, but Chantelle Cameron played the role of a spoiler and handed Katie Taylor her first professional defeat. What were the keys to Chantelle's win, in your opinion?
Well, I figure the first key was how big she was. You know, very apparent how big she was. And that's not to say that Katie couldn't have come in 155 pounds as well, or whatever Cameron was. I'm not saying she was 155, but she was bigger than her. She also, even though people thought she was nervous beforehand, she showed no respect for Katie. She showed no respect for her speed. She showed no respect for her power, and she was relentless in her attack. And guess what? She was in shape. I did not see her tired at all. She was in shape. Even in the 10th round, she had the same look that she had on the first round and the same relentlessness. And she was just a better fighter, you know, letting her hands go, beating Katie to the punch sometimes, but Katie has the speed. Katie has the speed, obviously, to beat everybody to the punch in that division. It's just that Katie also gets drawn into those firefights, and This is the results.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I agree with you. You know what? It's funny you say that. Throughout the whole fight, it's the one thing that I could not stop thinking about was the size difference. Because when Katie was in those exchanges inside where she would put like 4 or 5 punches together, it didn't seem like they were budging Chantelle at all, and she was kind of walking through those combinations, even though Katie won a lot of those moments. And don't get me wrong, even though Katie looked like the smaller fighter, she was still a warrior in there. I mean, there was some times where I said, how is this woman that's so much smaller than this other woman in the middle of the ring banging with her like that? So Katie, like you said, was drawn into a fight that didn't suit her at this weight class, where Katie should have been on the outside, peppering and moving. But Chantelle Cameron had supreme confidence, especially in that ring walkout. There's something about her ring walkout, Barack, when she came, I said, oh man, seems like she's not worried about Katie's skill and speed. Like she's ready for this moment. But nevertheless, I like at the end of the fight, Barack, how Katie said, I'm just ready for that rematch. There's a rematch clause in that contract, even though she was fighting for the titles. She has a rematch clause, and Katie's just ready for the rematch against Chantelle Cameron. She wants to avenge that loss. Remember, this is Katie's first loss, and you saw it on her face. You saw it in her eyes. She even had a little smirk like she wants her get back. So that's what's next for Katie Taylor and Chantelle Cameron, a rematch. And in Chantelle's mind, she's like, nah, she's kind of like Bivol. Like, no, I don't want to beat you at this weight class. I want to make history, and I want to beat you at your weight class so that I can come undisputed in 2 different weight divisions real quick, you know, and that's how she's thinking. But I feel like Katie, when a fighter says immediately, I want a rematch, and if they're serious about it, and you know Katie's serious about everything she says, it's because they know that they could have done better. Now, in the beginning of the fight, I was like, wait, why is she mixing it up like this? And I feel like when one fighter is trying to show their dominance and trying to show that they're powerful and stronger than you, then the other fighter's like, well, let me give you something to respect me. So I'm gonna hit you. It's just that, like I said, Chantelle was just not respecting Katie's power. But I believe her wanting a rematch, especially when you got a huge rematch, a potential rematch with Serrano already, you know, potentially scheduled that could make even more money, that just goes to show you're not scared of her and you feel like you can do better. And when I talk about fight fans are in Dublin. It was insane. It was almost close to Madison Square Garden, April 30th with Katie Taylor and Serrano. It was only 9,000 people. There was not a seat empty in the house, and not one person was sitting down. It was incredible. I could imagine. And for the rematch, I'm not going to miss that one. I'll be right there in Dublin with you guys. All right, next major fight in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, Loma's team says that they were going to appeal this decision. Do you agree or disagree with the judges? Well, I'll say this, Barack. This was indeed the most difficult fight to score that I've ever scored in my entire boxing career.
Right.
It was extremely hard. The judges earned their money. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't agree with the 112, 116 scorecard. The other two scorecards are obviously 113, 115, which is a very razor-thin fight. We all saw Devin look great early on. Loma came back, but then Devin fired back in those moments, in those pockets, even when Loma had big rounds, though I thought he won those last few rounds big. Remember, boxing is scored by rounds, not how big the moment is in that round. You don't get 2 rounds because you won a round big. You just get 1 round, right? So that's what people got to realize. You have to watch the
unless you score a knockdown. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Right. So I watched the fight 3 times, Barack, and I'll be frank. Watching the fight initially live, I felt like Loma pulled it off. I watched the fight again on Sunday, early in the morning, and I felt Devin won the fight. And I watched it for the 3rd time, and I scored it a draw. So, but I'll say this, in retrospect, I didn't have a problem with Devin winning the decision. I thought he won. There were times where I thought he felt like that he won 7 rounds, and times where I felt like Loma won 7 rounds after watching the fight 3 times. So I don't want people to throw that word robbery out anymore. There were so many swing rounds in that bout, Barack, where some rounds where I wasn't sure who won the round. I wasn't sure who won the round, so I can't imagine what the judges went through. Very close fight. I did feel bad for Loma. I thought he fought his butt off, but so did Devin. And Devin showed a lot of skill. Remember, he's fighting a 2-time Olympic gold medal, a guy that came to the pros and destroyed. And Devin held his own, did his thing to hold his straps. I just want to see this fight again. It was a high-level chess match. High-level chess match.
I'd like to say congratulations to Devin Haney for retaining his titles. Also, hats off to Vasily Lomachenko for showing that you are still Lomachenko. You're still the Matrix, you know. And like I was telling everybody, he just had a tough fight before Devin. That's it. He's still the same Lomachenko, but that just goes to show you how good Devin Haney really is.
Yeah.
One thing I want to say is that I am not mad at the 116, 112, which equates to 8 rounds for Devin and 4 rounds for Lomachenko. The reason why I'm not mad at it, whether you agree with it or not, it makes sense in these kind of fights where they're close, where they're very, very hard to score, like Ak was saying. Everybody can agree that this was the highest level of chess match I've probably ever seen. You know, this was a high level chess match. In other words, usually when it's like that, judges' scorecards usually are very, very different. Very, very different. It just so happens they weren't that different, but they're usually very, very different because it's that hard to score. So it's not strange to see a scorecard like that. That is not called a robbery. That is not a reason for you to say, I'm done with boxing.
That's foolish.
People that are saying that they're done with boxing, you don't watch enough boxing to understand this. And I'm sorry to tell you that, but some of you guys are my friends.
And Barack, you mentioned, I agree with you. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was generous giving him 8 rounds. I gave him 7, but nevertheless, a lot of rounds were close. So it could go that way. But the one that people need to stop saying is, I can't believe it was unanimous. Unanimous means when all 3 judges agree on the guy that won. It doesn't mean that the fight wasn't close. It doesn't mean that a lot of those rounds weren't close. So
people just like to hear majority decision or split decision when the fight is close.
Exactly.
It doesn't just work like that.
You have to know the meaning of split and majority and unanimous.
Yeah, and like what you were saying, like
doesn't mean a guy.
Loma had some close. Right, Loma had some big rounds. You're talking about the 10th and 11th round. 10th round was pretty big. And it's kind of like Katie Taylor versus Serrano. Very close fight. Who had the bigger rounds? Serrano. So a lot of people were saying, hey, Serrano won. You know, so whether you agree or not, it's always best to go back, watch it round per round, and count the rounds. Most fans, 99% of fans, are not counting rounds. What you're doing is you're saying at the end of the fight, who got the better of them? You know, so you're gonna remember the bigger rounds. And I'm not trying to say who won, because actually, I was in Ireland trying to stay up 5 o'clock in the morning watching this fight. Barely was able to get online, but it was what I saw was so tactical and so high level that I felt bad for the judges because this was incredibly hard to score.
This is the first time I actually considered how difficult their job is. And the one thing I don't agree is what Bill Haney said in the post-fight, or in the dressing room with Christina Pancha, that the fight that doesn't warrant a rematch. It wasn't a close fight. Obviously, everybody disagrees with that, but, credit to Bill, he's in a corner. He didn't have a chance to rewatch the fight. This was right after the fight, so he's going to be biased to his son. So I could understand that. I do think that once Bill's a real dude, and Devin, I believe that once they watch that fight and once they hear the noise in the background, they're going to want to solidify a win that's clear cut. It was a great fight. Devin won the fight. He deserved to win the fight. It was a very close fight. I need to see it again. I want to see it again. The people want to see it again, Barack. There's no question that fight warrants a rematch. Yeah, I mean, I guess the next question is, where does Devin sign from here? Does he go back to Matchroom? Does he stay with Top Rank? Who knows? Does he sign with MVP Promotions? Who knows? You know what? That's probably what it is. Remember, that was my thing. Yeah. But I think I'm a guy who doesn't like rematches. I don't like rematches, but I will never ever take a rematch away from a guy that has a fight that's close, like Vasily Lomachenko had. I'll tell you one thing though, Shakur Stevenson in that ring after the Devin fight. See, I like to see new stuff. There you go. It was epic. I love it. So I can't wait to see who Devin fights next. I wouldn't mind seeing a Loma fight again, but I also wouldn't mind seeing Shakur Stevenson versus Devin Haney. All right, that's our show for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Peace and love. Stay safe. We're out of here.
Introducing the new DAZN Boxing Show podcast. No matter the time or the place, getting your boxing content has become easier than ever. Tune in as we give you exclusive insights, predictions, fight night recaps, and more alongside the biggest names in the game. All for free. Available globally every Thursday across all audio streaming platforms and with new episodes dropping weekly to give you the latest news. Just type in the DAZN Boxing Show podcast, listen in, and enjoy.